Huge shock in the QMJHL President's Cup Finals. Victoriaville comes away with a win. There's a new king of the North in the National Hockey League as the Montreal Canadiens advance to the semifinals. And the NBA will hand out a new champion this year with the Lakers getting knocked off in the first round. It's Sports QuaranTV. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sports QuaranTV. It's been a couple weeks since we've been in your living room with a new show. Chris Dobson, Gerry Green, as always, in your living rooms, on your television sets. We've got a great show, Gerry. There's a lot happening in the sports world. I can't wait to get into it.
Well, yes, Chris, and of course, you and I have been covering the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League all season long, and that's where we start. And the fact that the Victoriaville Tigers are able to upset the Val-d'Or Feuillants in the final in Quebec City in 6 games knocked me off my chair. It wasn't for a lack of trying for Val-d'Or. They peppered the Victoriaville net many times in many of the games and had some good goaltending, did the Tigers, and ended up being in the right place at the right time, beating everybody they had to. As Ric Flair would say, to be the man, you got to beat the man, and they beat the man going down the stretch and into the final.
Yeah, I mean, heartbreaking to see those players in Val-d'Or. I mean, Val-d'Or sold everything they had to put that team together here this year. But I will say this, and I have evidence to prove it, that back in it's either like April or late April, early May, I have a conversation I was having with somebody, and I saved it the other day because I went and found it, and I called this upset. Basically, I said I still had Charlottetown, obviously, coming out of the Maritimes. I thought St. John was going to make a bigger splash, but I said if anyone's going to upset Val-d'Or, it's going to be Victoriaville. We've said it on the show a couple times now as well. I mean, Victoriaville built the team to be physical and play strong. They got great goaltending down the stretch. I mean, they did everything right, and to me, there was no surprise. I shouldn't say there was no surprise because it was a huge upset. But overall, the way it was done didn't, I can't say I'm overly shocked. I would have been more shocked to see Charlottetown get through and Charlottetown knock off Val-d'Or than I was Victoriaville. Yeah. But overall, I mean, look, it was a great final and it was great for the QMJHL. And we've been praising them all year long, Gerry, on how great of a year it's been. The fact that they've been able to endure COVID and do everything they had to do, but they were still able to put on a spectacle in Quebec City, had fans in the building as well. Like, yeah, good for them. And congratulations to the Victoriaville Tigers.
There's some interesting storylines there too, Chris, in regards to the coach for the Tigers, Carl Millette. He was the captain of the Tigers the last time they won the President's Cup back in 2002. I didn't know that. And here he is the coach in 2021 and first-year coach, Chris, because they only played 26 games during the regular season and played 19 in the playoffs, and that's all the experience he's had. But you also have to acknowledge the general manager, Kevin Cloutier. Kevin Cloutier was the general manager. They called him hockey operations, director of hockey operations in Rimouski when they won in 14-15 or 2014, if you will. He was the director of hockey operations. So he's won 2 championships. Did you know who the general manager of the Tigers is? And if you didn't, this is why he's done such a great job putting that team together. But what a fascinating development that these 2 guys have been quietly behind the scenes putting this team out to win a championship. And it was also the curious in my research that Victoriaville won in double overtime to beat Val-d'Or. And when Cloutier was the director of hockey operations, it was Michael Jolie who scored in double overtime in a Game 7 to beat Quebec. So some interesting backlines there, but 2 guys that need to get a whole lot of credit, along with, of course, the hierarchy of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League to make this all happen.
You're absolutely right. I love having these conversations with you because you dig deep into the archives and you pull this stuff out, and I love it. I absolutely love it. But no, you're right. I mean, you look at what the commissioner, Gilles Courteau, has done, and again, we praise him every time. I said it earlier. I mean, he was able to do this, keep the players involved. Everyone was able to keep the players safe for the most part. I mean, there was a fiasco at one point during the season, Gerry, where I didn't think we were going to get through the year. I mean, yes, the Maritime Division was the only side that got started because of what was going on in Quebec. And then it seemed like that rotated and that shift. And then, when finally, there was a big break at Christmas time as well. And I was like, okay, is this it? Are we finally done? Are they going to send everybody home? But no, good on the QMJHL to be able to keep these kids engaged, keep everybody safe and healthy and allowed to finish out this year. I slow clap. I applaud everything there.
They really did roll with the punches, Chris. And during the final stretch, when Bathurst was acknowledged as being the team that's going to come out of the Maritime North, to take on Charlottetown. For the league then to decide, well, we're not going to get any approval from the Atlantic provinces to play there. We'll bring them to Shawinigan. We know Shawinigan's a good bubble. And then, kept it rolling from there. I mean, to have the foresight and the thought to think of alternatives to keep the ball rolling is what impressed me the most. And that they could play 7 games. They were going to play a 7-game final series if it had to be. It ended in 6, which again kind of surprised me a little bit. And then once a trophy is handed out, Chris, did you notice, and again, I could be corrected, TSN or Sportsnet, there was no major coverage of the fact that there was a major junior league that handed out a trophy?
So when I saw your tweet and you put that out there, I actually did some thinking, and I was trying to go back to try to find it. And I think the only mention I saw, and I could be wrong as well. I can't spend 24 hours a day on Twitter as much as I think I am. But I think, Stefan LaRue at RDS, I know obviously they did. They recognized it right away. So, not shocking, of course. But yeah, I didn't see anything come out from the major networks, from TSN, from Sportsnet, which kind of surprised me a little bit, especially, with Sam Cosentino involved. And I mean, he's heavy, but I think I saw him on a social media account. So Sam was congratulating Victoriaville, and I saw all that, but that's all I saw. Like, I didn't see anything come from the companies themselves, which was a little shocking to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed it. And if I did, hey, you know what? I'll eat crow and I'll apologize.
And how hard would it have been that the game-winning goal in double overtime was a great clip that was about, 40 seconds. And you could not fit that into your national sportscast. The only league that handed out a trophy and everybody had a shot at it. I mean, you think of the MHL. The MHL had to dwindle down to 3 teams, and Fredericton wins a North Division title. But there's no other league in the country at this age level that handed out a trophy. And my goodness, I think that's newsworthy.
Not even just any league. I mean, think about it, Jerry. The QMJHL, up until last week, when the Habs allowed 2,500 fans in the building to play the Leafs, they were the only sports venue in the country allowing full-blown fans into buildings. Like, it's a big news story. Anyways, before we get in trouble, let's move on.
Yeah, next news story. How about, well, I know you named them the Kings of the North, and they are, and well-deserved. The Montreal Canadiens get by the Winnipeg Jets and now sit and wait. Chris, they've won 7 in a row, and they've done so. And I said this to many people when the Jets were about to play them, and when they were knocking out the Leafs, because we haven't talked since they knocked out the Leafs, they score first. And when they score first, they're very dangerous, and that's what allowed them to win 7 in a row.
Yeah, you talk about scoring first. They have not trailed in a game.
Isn't that a fascinating stat?
And I was so what was it? Is it game 4 in Toronto? Was that what it was?
Yes.
Yeah. So when they won that, they have not trailed since, and now they are second in NHL history in regards to not playing with a lead behind themselves.
Yeah.
Right. The Montreal Canadiens hold that record from the
1960, though.
1960.
I mean, that's a different game in 1960, Chris.
Yeah. Well, according to this year's Habs, no, it's not.
But who keeps track of that? Is what I want to know. This is fascinating. It's kind of like a baseball stat. Yeah,
I love the fact that the timer is up when the game is playing. Like, you see the timer at the top, and it's like there's a lower third, and it's actually just counting up while it's going on. And I think that's amazing. But yeah, you talk about Montreal, and I mean, for the longest time, you don't like to get me going about the Montreal Canadiens on this show, and for good reason. And now we're at a point where, like, this is what we're going to talk. Like, I've been waiting all year for this. So I look at how that whole thing played out, and if I look and I go back to that Leafs series, and I made a very good. I waited 2 days before I put that tweet out after the Leafs series was over, and that was, look, like, I wasn't going to gloat, I wasn't going to mock Leaf fans, I wasn't going to do any of that. But what I did do is I never, ever, ever want to hear a Maple Leafs fan ever criticize Carey Price's contract ever again. I never want to hear it. I never want to talk about this overpaid goaltender who's never shows up when needed. I'm honestly a believer at this point, Jerry, that I think once the Vancouver Canucks got COVID, I think Carey Price took a gamble, took a month and a half off to reflect on himself so that he was ready for the postseason because he felt Jake Allen could do it. And overall, I mean, look, they squeaked in. They just squeaked in. Don't kid yourself. But everyone's talking about how Marc Bergevin built this team for a postseason run, and that's just what he did. I look back on the fact that Kotkaniemi and Caulfield didn't even play games 1 and 2 in Toronto.
Right. And the fact Gallagher gets back in the lineup, all those players that came back once the playoffs started, and one of them being Gallagher. And I think Gallagher is an underrated guy in my books on what he supplies for that team. Maybe, yes, he has 2 goals in the playoffs and 2 assists, but he does more than that. He's a real energy guy. When he gets out there with Deneau and Likkonen, right, is on the other side. That's a tough line to play against, and it's tough because Gallagher's on top of you as soon as the puck's in, and his ability to be a nuisance and to be in your rearview mirror all the time is a skill that I appreciate, and he's really the straw that stirs that drink there. I really like Brendan Gallagher, and I think him coming back for the playoffs, I think it took him a couple games to get rolling, but I think he was an important part of it.
But again, it took him a couple games to get rolling, but the team rallied behind him. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. I can only imagine what kind of guy he is in the room. But, I don't want to talk about the Leafs series anymore, Jerry. Let's talk about the Jets series, because I need to, we didn't have a show last week, so we couldn't really address it or have this conversation. But the series, the quality of this series shifted the minute Mark Scheifele took that run at Jake Evans. I understand the Habs were dominant. I'm not saying the result would have been any different. I don't know if it would have been a sweep. Mark Scheifele is a big piece of that Jets offense. But at the same time, the minute that happened, on the kid's birthday to boot, you now have bulletin board material. And Shea Weber stood in, and I've never seen, as long as I've seen Shea Weber in the National Hockey League, I've never seen him as mad as he was.
I don't think the Jets had anything for Montreal, regardless if Scheifele was in the lineup or not. And I've watched Mark Scheifele for years and years and years, and it just wasn't the same Winnipeg Jet team that beat Edmonton that was playing Montreal in Game 1. They were just disorganized. And would they have possibly turned it around? Well, Stastny wasn't in the lineup either, which was a surprise to me after sitting and waiting for the results of the Toronto-Montreal series, that he missed a game, but the fact that he would miss a game in Game 1,
that's fair.
And that it kind of threw the whole chemistry of the lines off because they were sitting. So what, did he get hurt in practice?
Yep.
But Chris, bottom line is, I want you to name for me 3 guys from the Montreal Canadiens, and we're harping on the Canadiens because this is a phenomenal story. 3 guys that you would call your 3 stars, and don't give me the obvious guys that you really think are important pieces that has made them successful in this stretch run of 7 games.
I'm going to start with my 3rd star. And say what you will, I'm going to use him. It's Cole Caulfield to me. And I'll tell you why. From an energy perspective, you see the smile the kid brings. The guy bear hugged Mark Bergevin after last night's game. He's the most celebrated kid in the entire ice. You can tell the energy and the excitement and the fun he brings into that locker room.
Assists on the series-winning goal, absolutely. Yeah,
he's got 3 assists in the postseason right now. And remember, this is the kid who everyone said that was never going to be able to play in the National Hockey League. He wasn't ready. Number 2, I'm going Eric Stahl. This is why you got Eric Stahl. I was one of the guys clamoring for him to basically be taken out in the backyard and shot in the leg throughout the regular season. And postseason Eric Stahl showed up, and that's exactly, he's been unreal. I think he finished with 7 or 8 points so far in the postseason. You got to be pleased with that. Mm-hmm. And number one has to be Corey Perry. Corey Perry to me is the league's best contract. I don't care. I understand you can't extend a guy during the postseason. As soon as this is over, I think it was a $750,000 contract.
Will they?
They'd be stupid not.
Will they sign him?
He's going to have to, because they're going youthful. They're going youthful, and they're going to want a guy like that in the room. They're going to want a guy like that to protect these kids on the ice. Corey Perry is my 1st star. I've got to ask you yours. Who do you think the 3 stars should be? I
think Suzuki does a subtle job. And I don't mean just by points he gets, but even if you saw in the game-winning goal, the subtle footwork he does in the corner to get Caulfield the puck loose while his face is against the glass. And he's a hard worker, Chris. He sticks his nose in the dirty areas. He's not afraid to go there. He's the guy that stood out for me, first off, for the Montreal Canadiens. Number 2, you already stole my glory there with Corey Perry. Corey Perry, and it was interesting, Craig Simpson said something creative about Corey Perry. He said, Corey Perry is not the fastest player with the puck, but you cannot get it from him when he does have it. He's a good protector of the puck. And I thought that was a pretty good description of what Corey Perry does. And I've already mentioned what Gallagher does for me. So those are the 3 stars that I think the Montreal Canadiens, the unsung heroes. Perry and I think Suzuki are certainly recognized, but we're not talking about Toffoli's and Ben Sherratt was good on the blue line too. We don't talk about him much. And of course, the guy in the net and Price. So they've got a lot of things going for them, Chris, and I can't wait to see who they're going to face. Storylines, whether it is Vegas or Colorado.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you're right. There's 2 storylines there. I mean, Colorado was the Cup favorite coming into the Stanley Cup playoff. I mean, they've shown why. But if you're Vegas, you can't count them out right now. I mean, Las Vegas is playing great hockey right now. And if you don't think for 2 seconds, Jerry, that Max Pacioretty is not chomping at the bit to get a crack at the Montreal Canadiens right now, you're foolish. It's been an exciting series on that side so far. I mean, watch 2 offensive teams just go toe to toe and skate so fast. And can we please talk about how amazing it is to see the Vegas' building packed with fans? It looks absolutely insane. I can't wait.
I was watching the Bruins and the Islanders the other night, that 5-4 game, and the Bruins could not play much better. The 5 goals that the Islanders got were good goals, even though they had 19 shots. But the TD Garden was jumping. It had full capacity. Oh. And what a difference it was to switch from that game, and no offense to the Jets and the Canadiens, and the noise that was attempted to be made at the Bell Center, but it just wasn't the same atmosphere. But those 2 teams, the Islanders and the Bruins, I don't think it's over yet, and it could be over by tonight, that the Bruins have to go back into Uniondale and take on the Islanders in a hostile crowd. But if anybody can win on the road, the Bruins can, and they're going to have to if they want to continue. And I think Tampa is going to sit and wait. I think Tampa can handle the Hurricanes, or I think they have a number on the Hurricanes. So, and the reason why the Canadiens have to play either Vancouver or Vegas or Colorado is because they had the most points, and so Montreal had the fewest points of anybody that's still alive, and they have to play the team that has the most points.
No, and I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people have asked me why are they moving over to that division? Why? And so thanks for clarifying that. I want to talk quickly about that Islanders series for a second and just give like an honorable mention, because I got to talk about how great Noah Dobson has played in this postseason for the New York Islanders right now. I mean, he looks great. Had another 2 points the other night. Watching him develop into the national. I mean, Lou Lamoriello made sure very carefully to slowly develop him into the National Hockey League. I mean, he was in the bubble last year, didn't get to play a whole lot in that play-in tournament. But overall, you see what he's done this season. And look, I think he's going to be an absolute staple. I mean, Jerry, we got lucky. We saw Noah do what he did best here in the QMJHL for many years, won back-to-back Memorial Cups with different teams. So yeah, I love watching Noah do what he does. He's a big addition there. And Matt Barzal to me, I mean, those Islanders are fun to watch, but you're right. They're going to have their hands full with the Bruins because David Pastrnak and Brad Marchand, those guys aren't going to roll over, Jerry.
Well, I think they found a spot over the left shoulder of Tuukka Rask, because the other night I think they deposited 3 of them up over his shoulder. And again, good goals, and their power play was deadly, and that's what Boston was complaining about, was the penalty calls. But Barry Trotz, it looks like he has tremendous confidence in Noah Dobson. I tremendously enjoy watching that perfection line. And Brad Marchand, what a treasure he is. And I know he's not liked, and other teams dislike him, and other fans dislike him. But you have to give credit where credit is due. He is a tremendous power along the boards and in close quarters, and so smart with the puck. It's been a very entertaining series.
Absolutely. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here right now, but how amazing would it be somehow if the Habs played the Bruins in the Stanley Cup Finals? It would be a gong show.
That would be something. And Chris, it's interesting. The NBA playoffs kind of mirror the NHL playoffs in the timing. And now we're into the final 8, I guess, as there's 4 series still left to be played. Any surprises for you?
The fact that the Lakers have been eliminated. I understand that's how. So, we'll see a new king this year. The biggest surprise that I saw, which I guess shouldn't really say this as a surprise, but the Clippers-Mavericks series to me was an unbelievable series. You watch what Luka Doncic did. I mean, Luka is so good, and you saw the respect they had, and he basically kind of put that team on his shoulders and said, guys, we're going to go toe-to-toe with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and we're going to make it happen. And they pushed that to 7 games. I mean, it was an exciting series. I was rooting for the Mavs. I wanted to see Mark Cuban just lose his absolute mind. I also would have loved to have seen what happens with Kawhi Leonard if the Clippers get eliminated. I mean, he still has not re-signed in LA. He's UFA at the end of the year. He can go wherever he wants. A lot of people are speculating that maybe he'd take a run and come back to the Great White North. I can't see it, but maybe.
Do you think the pressure's off the Clippers, Chris, now that they're only ones in the arena now that the Lakers are gone?
I don't think there's any pressure. I mean, at the end of the day,
I think it's off them, though. I think it's on the pressure is off.
Yeah, I think the pressure is off them for sure. But overall, I don't think they're good enough to win. I really don't. There's something about Paul George I'm just not convinced about yet. I mean, Kawhi Leonard's proven time and time again what Kawhi can do if he really wants it. But overall, I mean, that's the West side of things. I don't think, and this is what is extremely irritating to me right now, nobody's beating Brooklyn. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
And look, and we were joking around off camera before it starts. It kills me because I can't even root for Steve Nash at this point. Like I can't. I mean, behind the bench of the Nets, and between James Harden, one of the bigger players in Brooklyn right now that I enjoy watching as well has been Blake Griffin. I mean, he's been reactivated, reunited. I don't know. It's just no one's beating Brooklyn.
Well, it's interesting. They have a lead on Milwaukee. Milwaukee doesn't look like a team that I thought they were. It's fun to watch the Atlanta Hawks playing the 76ers, and I don't know if the Hawks can beat the 76ers or not. But the interesting thing that we've uncovered by our producer, Jason King, is 5 of the 8 teams that are left have never won an NBA championship. Never. And if you go to the 3 teams that have, it's only been the 76ers who won in 1983. That's the next even closest. So this is fascinating for the NBA, I think.
You're absolutely right. And I pulled up the list just to make sure we got it, because outside of the Sixers in 83, so we got the Bucks in 71, the Hawks in 58, then you got the Nets, the Clippers, the Suns, the Jazz, and the Nuggets, who have never won a title.
I never knew Atlanta had won a title. I never knew Atlanta had won a title. Yes.
I would assume back then.
Let's move on to Major League Baseball, Chris. And the Bluejays keep plugging away. They're in 3rd in the American League East Division. They have a tough series this week against the White Sox. We'll see what they're made of. But it, again, seems to be the Vlad Guerrero show. And he looks like he's going to be one of those guys you'd have to watch as a possible MVP.
Oh, you'd have to. He's got to be an early leader for it. I mean, right now he's leading the American League in 7 major categories. I mean, if you look at what he's done, and again, this all comes as a big shock to basically nobody. I mean, people were concerned about the weight loss when the season started. How is he going to rebound? Could he still hit the ball? What's his agility going to be like over there? He's got Gold Glove level defense right now as well. I mean, he's
really adapted. He's really adapted. I love it.
Unbelievable. So if you look at other guys who could possibly contend for an MVP early, you got Ronald Acuna and then Fernando Tatis Jr. I mean, the future of baseball is super exciting, Jerry.
And super young, yeah.
Very young. And I mean, but everything lives and dies through Vladdy Guerrero Jr. in Toronto right now. And I love the fact, I think last time I checked, yesterday, I think there were 6 games back, and, there's still a lot of baseball to play. And, unfortunately, somehow, some way, Tampa Bay seems to get hot every year, and I don't ever understand it. It makes no sense. I mean, the Red Sox are finally starting to fall a little bit from grace, but the Blue Jays are a really fun ball team to watch right now.
And playing the White Sox this week, the White Sox are on top of their Central Division, and they're right there behind Tampa in the best record in the American League. And what about the leagues themselves, Chris? They're talking about the possibility that there's being substances put on the balls by the pitchers. Do you believe that?
Unbelievable. So I saw a video the other day. Obviously, it's that when I saw Trevor Bauer get called, his balls got sent back in for submitted and reviewed, and he felt that he was being targeted. And look, as well as I do, Jerry, a pitcher will do whatever he can do to get the edge. I mean, whether it's pine tar, whether it doesn't matter. He's got something somewhere to just get that little extra oomph on the ball. You know what I mean? But the fact that Major League Baseball is going to, so they claim they're going to start coming down on the players. I'll be really curious to see what happens. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This is a story I'll be watching closely because I don't know what happens if they do.
Major League Baseball is slow to react on a lot of things. And this comes from the fact that they said, why is there so many no-hitters this season? Why are the batting averages down? Why is hitting down in the league? If something's happening to the ball, these pitchers getting that good. I mean, they're going to take a look at it. How quickly they react is the question.
And don't forget, team owners have already voted on the move to crack down on this stuff. So everybody's involved. Everybody wants a piece of it. So, I don't know. But yeah, you are right. You talked about the no-hitters. I don't know, man. Either way, we'll figure it out soon. Garrett Cole, Trevor Bauer, the two biggest names, they're currently being looked at right now. So, I mean, pitching's a big deal. Anyways, Jerry, that's going to do it there. It is time, my friend, for everyone's favorite part of the show. It is time for the wrap. I know you'd be excited. Starting right off the hop, it is official. The Edmonton Elks, the Canadian Football League. Do you like the name?
I love the Elks. I love that they have the antlers on the helmet. If you haven't seen it, get on the internet and take a look. And the fact that the Elks are Edmonton Elks keeps the double E in play. So that old merchandise is still saleable. But I really love what the Canadian football has done and how the Edmonton fans and the management of the Eskimos have reacted by coming up with a new name. And I hope to see CFL football, and I hope fans get to see and go to the stands and see CFL football this year. Coach K from college basketball is retiring. Chris, tell us more.
Coach Krzyzewski, 74 years old, Jerry. I mean, he's been coaching for 4 decades now. I can't wait. And congratulations to him. What a hell of a career. 12 Final Four appearances, 12 of them. 5 national titles under his belt.
Yeah.
Let him ride off into the sunset, my friend. Best of, hell of a career. You've had it. Can't wait to see him. It's going to be sad to see him go, but not shocked at all. Crazy news in the golf world in the last week, Jerry. What is happening right now?
Crazy news. I was entrenched by watching Brooke Henderson start at the U.S. Open, and she floundered in the second round, but really turned it on in rounds 3 and 4 and got a top 10 finish. But it was Lexi Thompson, the American, who has never won a major and has had difficulty closing out tournaments, had a 5-stroke lead with 10 holes to play, Chris, in a tough course, the Olympic in San Francisco, and couldn't hold on to it despite hitting the fairways. She was hitting approach shots that weren't making it to the green and then missing putts, missed even to get into the playoff. It was heartbreaking. Meanwhile, John Rahm has a 6-stroke lead at the Memorial Jack Nicklaus tournament, and he gets pulled off the 18th green after the 3rd round and says he can't continue because he's tested positive for COVID. 6-stroke lead, doesn't get to finish. Shocking news from the world of golf this week. Aaron Rodgers, is he giving shocking news in the world of football, Chris?
Nope, hasn't showed up to camp yet. Just going to pay attention to it real close, but as of right now, he's being fined for not coming to mandatory camp, so we'll see how it all plays out. Jerry, that has been the wrap. What a great show it's been. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We love your faces. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Thursday.